everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today we're on part 2 of my LT50 project. Now basically I did a wheel bearing last time, thought I'd do a kingpin this time. The truth is I wasn't actually going to do this video. The kingpin kit that I bought was an all balls kit and it didn't fit very well. I gotta be honest with you, I like to be as straight as I can. And when you actually put the bushes in the actual stub itself, I couldn't get the pin in. It was just solid. So I actually had to ream the bushes out a little bit to get the pin to fit, which I'm just not happy with. So obviously it's all together now and it works perfectly. But I wasn't happy doing a tutorial, but I thought no, other people might have the same problem or find the same issues as I did. So I did the video just basically to explain how to do this. I am going to do another video in the future on the other side. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to use one of these kits again. I'm probably going to look maybe at genuine bushes or something like that. So yeah, I thought I'd run you through it and let's take a look.
And if you get value from this video, hit the like button and subscribe to support this channel.
Right then, so what I thought we'd start with is just showing you the play. So if I grab the wheel here and give it a rock, I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see a bit better, but you'll see the rocking in the bushes on the actual kingpin itself. This is the pin that obviously the wheel steers on. Which obviously gets quite a lot of force. So first thing we're going to do is remove the hubcap. Then we're going to remove the split pin that holds the nut in place. Now we're going to take the complete hub and wheel off to get it out the way. There's no need to take the wheel off the hub because you can take the whole lot in one go. So once we've got the split pin, we're going to take a 19mm spanner and remove the center nut. Now once we get this nut, we can just pull the complete assembly off. Now make sure you get the washer out of the way. Now we'll just take the whole wheel and hub assembly and remove it. So first thing we're going to do is remove the steering ball joint. This is a 14mm nut. Now you need a 12mm spanner to stop the ball joint from spinning. There's a little cutout that the spanner slots into and you can then wind off the nut. And there we go. I'm just going to put the washer and the nut back on the ball joint so I don't lose them, but always good to keep everything where it goes. Now the next thing we're going to do is remove the kingpin bolt, which is a 14mm. So we're going to remove the nut. And then we can pull the bolt out. And that is actually the actual kingpin removed. Now you can call it different things. You can call it a stub axle or a kingpin, but the parts are actually called kingpins, so that's what I guess the most common term. Now we're going to remove the two seals, which obviously keep the grease in, and then pull the pin out of the middle. Now this is basically just a spacer that goes here, so obviously when the bolt tightens down, this clamps solid and then the bushes pivot on the pin. And obviously it's them bushes that are worn which are giving my free play. Now as you can see, I got brass bushes on this one. Now I'll show you the kit I bought. Now this is the all balls kit. Now all balls I've always found have been good quality products, but for some reason this kit wasn't the best. Now I'm just going to show you what's inside the box. So the first thing we got is 2 new seals which come in a packet. Obviously a new pin, which is the actual spacer in the middle, and then 2 new bushes. Now they're nylon bushes in this kit, where the original ones were brass. So I don't know whether it's like a modified or... But yeah, they're not machined very well because obviously I had issues. So I'll show you that when we get to it. Now, what we're going to have to do is remove the old brass bushes. Now obviously because they're brass, they're quite solid in there. Now obviously if you've got the nylon bushes, they'll be a lot easier to remove, but due to it being brass, they were quite tight. So now I've put them in a vise and I've got a punch. Now what you need to do is find the lip on the brass and give it a tap either side and knock it out. Sorry I couldn't show you guys because I couldn't really hold the camera. I didn't have my stand with me when I did this. So I knocked the bottom bush out first, and then I'm just going to flip it upside down and then knock the second bush out with my punch. Again, if you look inside there, you can just see the lip, so obviously we're going to hit that with a punch and knock it out. So yeah, we'll just knock the second one out now. Again, so I've skipped a bit ahead here. Now here's the new bushes, so obviously what I'm going to do is use a vise to push them into place. Sorry I skipped so much there, guys. I obviously didn't have a stand with me, so it was a bit hard to record, and obviously you can see I'm holding this free hand and it's quite shaky, but as you can see, it's just a matter of just lining the bushes up and then wind them in with a vise. And then make sure you're obviously careful when you go in the last little bit, because you don't want to damage the bush. So just until it closes that gap, and then you're all done. And there we go, both bushes inserted. Now the problem I had here was the pin then wouldn't push into the bushes. Now I didn't try the pin in the bushes before I fitted them, so I don't know whether it was actually a defect with the bushes or whether when I pressed them in they've obviously gone out of shape. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this tool I've made here and a little bit of sandpaper, and I'm just going to sand a little bit of the nylon out, just to obviously until the pin goes in nice and freely. So obviously I'm just going to give him a buff. Now obviously I'm only doing it once by ear, but I did do this probably 4 or 5 times in each bush. I just give him a little bit of a buff, and then tried the pin and just kept obviously back and forth until the pin went in smooth. Obviously you don't want to take too much out because you don't want your pin to be loose, but yeah, I just took enough out so that the pin pushes through by hand. So as you can see now, if I give it a good firm, it is a little bit on the tight side, but it does go in with my thumb, which is obviously what you're aiming for. You don't want it loose, because obviously the looser you have it, then you'll probably end up with play in it, which obviously we don't want. So now we're back at the quad. We're going to obviously start putting this back together. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some grease and I'm going to grease the pin. Now I know nylon bushes sometimes don't use grease, but I'm going to use grease on this just because obviously it's all contained and it'll give it a little bit of lubrication. Now there is a well in the middle which obviously sits between the two bushes, so my goal is to try and push grease into that well in the middle, just like a wheel bearing or anything else. If you were to put grease in there, obviously you want to get it in so it stays in there. So I'm just going to obviously put some grease in, use my little finger just to push it past the bushes, and then obviously try and get as much in there as I can. And then once I've done that, I'm going to take the spacer, obviously the pin itself, and I'm going to push that back in, and that's it all assembled. So what I'm going to do now is grab my seals, just wipe my grease off my hand, and then get my new seals. Now I'm just going to obviously push my new seals on. They are a little bit tough. I did have to give it a good firm push to get them to go on. Obviously a little bit of grease on the inside of them wouldn't hurt, and then give them a good firm push and just push them on. As you can see, it won't quite go into the frame, so I'm just going to give it another good push together, and then it pretty much falls into place. And there we have it. So we'll grab our bolt now and obviously put our bolt back in, and then grab our 14mm ratchet and spanner and tighten the bolt. Now I don't actually know the torque setting for this bolt, but just obviously a firm tightness. It's a pin. It doesn't move at all. It just pinches that center tube in place. Give it a firm tight, and then always check that you can obviously turn your stub there nice and easily. Obviously you don't want it to be too loose. Mine's nice and firm, which is just perfect. Now I'm just gonna reattach my steering rod ball joint. So obviously take my nut and washer off, put my ball joint into place, and then I put the washer. Now it is a little bit like a spring washer, this one, so obviously make sure that's on there because that just locks the nut, even though it isn't a lock nut itself. And then we're going to take our 12mm spanner to obviously lock the ball joint like we did when we took it off, and a 14mm spanner to tighten it up. Now I did use a ratchet to take this off, and it's a bit awkward with a spanner, so obviously I switched to a ratchet here just to finish it off and tighten it up. Good firm nip, and that's that on. And that's him. There you can see she's all connected. Now I'll just get this grease out the way and we'll grab hold of the wheel. There you go, you can see I just rubbed a bit of grease off my fingers there onto the shaft, just to obviously help the bearing go in nice. Now I'm going to put the wheel back on and hub, and then we can re-tighten up the wheel bearing nut. So first we put the washer on and then the castle nut. Now obviously, as I did in my previous video, this is a split pin nut, so obviously you put the nut in and you apply a split pin to obviously lock it. So what we have to do is line it up with the hole. So what I always like to do, first I'm just going to straighten out the split pin. Obviously you can replace them, but I like to reuse them if I can. And then what I'm going to do is obviously line the nut up with a hole for the split pin. So what I like to do is loosen it off, nip it up, and then just tighten it until the holes align. So if you were to nip it and then the holes were to align, you'd have to go to the next hole. In this instance I'm about halfway there, so I just got to give him a bit of a firm turn until the next hole and then drop the split pin in, and that's more than tight enough. So I'm just going to bend my split pin now either side, and then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a pair of pliers and obviously crush it down so it doesn't foul the hubcap. Now that's it guys, pretty much everything done now, just a matter of putting the rubber hubcap back on to stop any dirt getting in there, and that's it. It's a really simple job. If it wasn't for the fact them bushes were a bit tight, I gotta be honest, it'd be probably one of the easiest jobs you could do on these, but yeah. Thanks for watching, and I hope this helps.
And if you get value from this video, hit the like button and subscribe to support this channel.